My name is Ceci Collins. I'm General Counsel for the El Paso Independent School District, and we are here for another Districting Committee meeting. I want to welcome all of those that are in attendance. I want to especially welcome Trustee Hanani and Trustee Iravalli for them attending this particular meeting. We have in attendance Mr. Lopez, Michael Lopez, who is appointed by Trustee Isabel Hernandez. We have Ms. Hurt, Tony Hurt, who is appointed by Trustee Alvalardi. We have Mr. Michael Apodaca, who is appointed by Trustee Leah Hanani. We have Ms. Georgina Williams, who is appointed by Trustee Daniel Call, and Carlos Alberto Martinez, who was appointed by Trustee Josh Acevedo. We have a quorum for this meeting. We also have present with us from the ASAP Analytics Department, Mr. Steve Clay and Victor Maldonado. At this time, we'll open it up for any public comments any public comment at this time.
The only comment that I had was really to express some concern for losing precinct 41. I felt like District 1 sort of had met parity in terms of how many constituents are in that area, and so I saw one of the maps where we were the only district that really met parity, and so that was my concern. It is concerning because there are two campuses in that district, which is the Young Women's Academy and also the CCTE campus. So where I felt like it almost felt like it was an unnecessary take from the district, especially given the fact that we seem to have been pretty stable compared to the other districts. We were the only district really that was stable, and so that was really the only thing that concerned me based on the maps that I saw.
Okay.
You did a great job. Yeah, this is my fourth.
So just, and we'll come back to address as necessary Trustee Hanani's comment, but just for a recap for the public, this committee met on 7 occasions at each single member district, beginning June 14th, the 15th, the 16th, 22nd, the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th, and of course we're here August 2nd. We had a quorum at all of the meetings. At the meetings, there was a presentation with regards to the requirements for redistricting for school districts that have single-member districts and what the legal requirements were, and then what the board resolution entailed in the process to be followed. And during that process, there were 4 maps that were presented by staff, by the analytics department. There were at least 3 maps that were created by this committee for consideration, and ultimately 2 maps were chosen by this committee to be published in an online survey. And those 2 maps were put out for the public. It was open for, I believe, at least 2 weeks. And Mr. Clay and Mr. Maldonado are going to speak to those results. So at this time, we'll go ahead and talk about the presentation on the redistricting survey results. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I want to take it back. I wanted a historical view first of what was presented, what the options were, and then ultimately then we'll get to the survey results. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see everyone again. So on the screen, and it's also in your packet, we'll just kind of quickly walk through what the original options were. So administration came up with 4 different options that met the criteria of being compact, contiguous, and equal representation, not exceeding a difference of 10%. So option number 1 was the first one that was presented, and that moved from Precinct 75 from District 3 to District 2, Precinct 55 from District 5 to District 4, and Precinct 60.2 which was a small piece that was created as part of the county redrawing their boundaries from District 3 to District 4. On the next slide, what we present here is a representation of how many trustees would be represented, how much of the population would be represented by each trustee, the population in each precinct, where it's moving from and where it's moving to, as well as what the new population for each trustee would be. And then the very last column indicates whether we're within that 10%. And so in this first option, you can see that we met all of that criteria. So that was the first option that was presented. Option 2 that administration presented was basically the same thing, except we addressed precinct 8, which is on the west side, which was originally split over 10 years ago as part of the redistricting at that time, and so we wanted to get back in compliance with no split precincts. And so on the next page, or the next slide, you can see the population there, which was a total of 713 that were in District 6 that would be moved back into District 7. Again, on the far right column, you see everything stays within the 10% requirement. For option 3, there were a total of 7 moves, starting with, again, the split precinct for 8, 176 from District 6 to 7, 41 from 1 to 3, 73 from 3 to 2, Precinct 75 from District 3 to 2, Precinct 55 from District 5 to 4, and Precinct 60.2 from District 3 to 4. And again, you can see that information. Just as a note also, the Precinct 60.2 did not have any population within that, so that does not impact any standing as far as population represented. Option number 3 was the option that went on the survey as one of the ones that you all proposed moving forward for the community to vote on. Option number 4 still addresses the split of Precinct 8, Precinct 74 from District 3 to 2, Precinct 66 from 4 to 3, Precinct 55 from 5 to 4, Precinct 56 from 5 to 4, and again addressing that split as well. And you can see the numbers on the far right column, so this still meets all the legal requirements that were identified for us as a committee. The next option was created based on the June 15th meeting. And so within that, again, it addressed the split. Precinct 6 went from 6 to 7, 7 from 6 to 7, 18 from 7 to 6, 177 from District 7 to District 6, 41 from 1 to 3, 73 from 3 to 2, 75 from 3 to 2, 55 from 5 to 4, 56 from 5 to 4, and then address the additional split with the new county criteria. On this slide, what we discussed before is this does exceed the 10% that's required, and so this was not a viable option that could be presented. The next option on June 16th looks at, again, the 2 split precincts and addressing those, 176 from 6 to 7, 41 from 1 to 3, 56 from 5 to 4, and then a portion of Precinct 87 from District 3 to District 2, and a portion of Precinct 209 from District 3 to District 2. So that one could not be moved forward because it's splitting a precinct, which is what we're not allowed to do. The next option that was created on June 16th, so again, it met the criteria of the threshold of the 10%, but again, because it was splitting precincts, we could not continue with that. The next option presented on June 16th, again, addresses both of the splits, 29 from 7 to 1, 25 from 1 to 7, 68 from 3 to 1, 60 from 4 to 1, 70 from 3 to 1, 74, 3 to 1, 37, 1 to 2, 39, 1 to 2, 42, 1 to 2, 76, 2 to 3, 77, 2 to 3, 78 from District 2 to District 3, 55 from District 5 to 4, and 56 from District 5 to 4. So one of the directions from the board was to try to do as minimal impact, so this one definitely had the largest number of moves. But in addition to that, if you look at District 1, it really spread out across the west side, down into part of the south side, and then up towards the northeast. And so Definitely a question if that were to be defined as compact. And you can see the data there showing the number of moves as well as the population affected. It does meet the criteria of staying within the 10% threshold. And then on June 28th, the committee proposed an additional option. And again, it addressed the splits, 176 from 6 to 7, 68 from 3 to 4, 74 from 3 to 2, 66 from 4 to 3, 55 from 5 to 4, and 56 from 5 to 4. In that option, it did meet the criteria of the less than 10%. It met compact, contiguous, no split precincts. And then from that meeting, the following day, and we're going to jump to another map here for 1 second. So the option you see on the screen was taken off of that last option on June 28th. You all added to that, tweaked it a little bit. And so again, address the splits, address precinct 176 going to 6 to 7, 41 from 1 to 3, 74 from 3 to 2, and 55 from 5 to 4. And this was the second option that you all proposed that went on the survey. Again, you can see that it does meet the 10% requirement as well as addressing the split. It's compact and it's contiguous. So that was the second option on the survey. The first option, which was administration's original option 3, was this option again with the different precincts there, addressing the splits, and then 5 other moves. You can see it meets the 10% there as well. So the last part of that, so there were 2 options that you all asked us to survey the community on. So we opened that survey up at the beginning of June. We actually kept it open 3 weeks to try to get a little additional response. We had 936 votes in total, with 475 of them going for option 2, or representing 50.7% of the votes. And option 1 had 49.3% of the votes, with 461 votes being cast for that option. Any questions on the survey? It's in essence a tie.
The question I do have, I thought that at the last meeting that we had, I thought the option, the staff option 2 was the one that we were supposed to recommend to be part of the survey, not option 3. Unless we were just very confused at that meeting because we had these 5 different options, to be honest.
Well, the ones that were put out in the survey, well, first of all, originally when the survey went out, let me just be clear about that, they had one of the wrong maps in there. We've gone back and listened to the meeting results, and Mr. Clay had put on the board, he says, is this the option that you want for the survey? I said, let's be clear. And so the 2 options that were in the survey were the ones that the board said, yeah, the committee said yes, that they wanted out there. So it could be that maybe nobody was looking at what was on the monitor, but it's clear in the video that that was the option.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't recall having option 3 on there, but if it was on the meeting minutes, then I think there was some confusion on there. But looking at the survey, basically, they're both kind of tied in a way.
So we, just to clarify, we both went back and watched the video, so.
That must have been grueling.
I hate looking at myself on camera, so that part was really grueling. But yeah, the 2 options that you all identified and that we went over at the meeting was what was sent out in the survey.
I have a couple of questions now that the survey is complete. I know we have a timeline, or the district has a timeline to get this to the board by September 20th. If we were to reconvene again like we are now to discuss other options based on the feedback that we've heard from the trustees and the community, do you guys then have to go back and put out another survey?
Do we have to?
I mean, I don't know what the state requirements are and all that.
The survey's not required.
Okay.
The survey was part of the process that was adopted by the board. board said that we would put out, in its resolution, said that we would put out a survey, but it did not say, it said it would be done in July, and that's exactly what we did. But if you wanted to do another survey, if the committee were to decide, based on feedback that you're hearing, that the options that were surveyed are not the options that the committee wants to propose, or if the committee decided you wanted to do another survey, we could certainly do that. I will say that we have time constraints, because the idea was to bring to the board, and I'm just looking at the resolution, I'm not trying to look away from you, but I'm looking at the resolution, and it said the committee would give a board update on August 16th and subsequently post the plan and maps on the website for 30 days. So the idea was give the public 30 days notice. This is going to be the recommendation to the board, post it for 30 days, and then on September 20th, the board would actually vote on that.
So then according to that, we still have, I guess, time to put in recommended maps for 30 days. If we come up, if there's another map that another member wants to come up with, then we do have time to do that, to have that publicly on the website for comment, and then we have time to bring it back to the board.
The committee,
To get it done
the
today.
committee would have time to do that. If we had to call another committee meeting in order to do that, I will make myself available. Mr. Clay and Mr. Maldonado will make themselves available to the committee in order for the committee to feel like that they are making their best recommendation to the board.
I think we would just hate for us to present these options to the Board of Trustees, and then they go back to the drawing board and say, you know, we needed some other options. Or, you know, we've heard from 2 trustees that are here. So I don't want us to all be doing double work in November or October, whatever that is, if we can knock it out and, you know, convene amongst ourselves.
Well, if we were to deviate from the schedule that the board gave us, which is to get it done ultimately by September 20th, in August, we would need to ask the board to modify that, which the board could do. But also, as Mr. Apodaca pointed out, the committee does have time to consider other options if you would like to do that. And that's precisely what these meetings are about.
And we could do that at this meeting, or do you have to call another meeting?
We can do that at this meeting because we are posted.
What did you have in mind, Michael?
Well, I do want to recommend staff option 2 as one of these proposed maps that the trustees should look at, in addition to the ones we did have on the website. So that would be an additional map that the trustees can look at.
Okay,
You know,
well,
please.
let's just, I want to, because we've had this issue before.
Right, no.
Make sure we're talking about which option 2.
Okay, so
Staff.
staff proposed option 2, which I believe does the most minimal of changes. Correct. Yeah, because I don't know why we said number 3, and I must have been very confused. So to be honest.
It was hot.
It was hot. I was recovering from COVID. Yeah, because I mean, this map is sound. It does less movement. It does less movement of all of the whole map. So I think this is one that should be given to the trustees next to the 2 options that we did come up with that were part of the survey. That is clearly, we did have some public input. They're fairly even. Although I do want to say option 2 did have some higher votes. Just want to let Trustee Hannity know. So, sorry. And then, whatever additional option that you want to come up with, because I think you had a proposal.
Yeah,
on
there's
that.
some on trustee 7 and trustee 6's area. I wanted to see if it would be feasible, but I don't know if it would meet the requirements in option 2 that you're recommending. So I might need your help on the maps right now, because it's not working for me.
Sure. We're prepared to do that.
Okay, thank you.
To do that, so, but just to,
Because I got feedback from one of the trustees as well, so I just want to make sure that we're listening to their concerns.
yes, and I would imagine imagine it's probably the same one that we were gonna run.
Yeah, and then speaking to my trustee who appointed me, I've heard some feedback from her, and that's where I think option 2 is also a good option next to
Staff
proposed
option two.
next to my option 2.
Oh gosh, this is too many.
Survey option 2.
Right, survey option 2. Yes.
Just need to all initial on the map and sign.
Right.
Right, so we
one
know what
it
we're
is.
talking about, yeah.
And so if necessary, just, to try to stick with the transparency that the trustees wanted to have with regards to this committee, it is possible, if you wanted to take staff option 2, take the option that had the most votes there. And then if there is any other option that you want to consider, now's the time to do it, right? And we could put out another survey with that before the August 16th meeting.
And then let me ask for the other committee members. I know, I have a proposed map. Ms. Williams has a proposed map. Do other trustees, have you all spoken to the other, not to the other trustees, to the other committee members, have you spoken to your trustees about this map, and have they given you opinion or feedback on these, 2 options?
I haven't.
I have not either.
Okay, so I just want to make sure it's before we start making whole new maps, and then we all propose, which one is my crazy one? Which one was it? The one with the
10 moves or more?
moves that I made? That would, yeah, June 15th, crazy move map, which I know for sure Trustee Hanani would never speak to me again. Okay, let's hear your proposal then.
Okay. So I guess if we look at one of those options, whether it's staff proposed option 2, if we can load that map up, and we'll just make a few little changes to see, because I don't want to have to recreate the wheel if we can make it work with one of those options. Oh, and I had on my notes,
You're going to relabel it, Mr. Maldonado?
yeah.
I'll duplicate it and then I'll give it.
Thank you very much.
Sure, of course.
And I had on my notes
Today's
from one of
date.
the meetings that Trustee Hernandez did prefer option 2. I think you guys were at that one meeting in the Northeast, so that's a good thing. She did prefer option 2, Trustee Hernandez.
Just want to make sure I'm getting.
Staff option 2?
Staff option.
Survey option 2.
Staff option, this one, how about I just point it out to you? I have my
No,
notes.
she did.
Yeah,
She's proposed, I'm sorry.
this one. Okay, so if we're looking at staff proposed option 2, tell me when you have that loaded with the map so I can get the changes.
Just wanted to verify the numbers real quick.
Sure.
So we get
Oh,
the-
no.
For you guys.
Y'all are doing a great job, by the way, with all our 20 million maps.
That's what we're here for.
Details.
Yeah. Staff proposed option 2.
Put today's date on it.
It's gonna work. Let's see. And option 2 would keep 41 in. Yes, right?
And then where would it go? Well, actually, we'll see what the proposal is.
Do you want to move?
I didn't, but, well.
Yeah, I don't think it's good. Well, we'll see.
Okay, so if you can go to trustee Seven's area.
Are you ready yet, Mr. Maldonado?
Sorry.
Just doing a
Sorry.
Yeah, hold on.
I'm doing a triple check to make sure that we are starting where we need to be starting. Okay, so I'm at the map.
Okay, so if you can zoom to the far left. And this is based on a conversation with, that I had with the trustee. What would it look like if we moved precinct 6 and 7 to 7?
Okay. Highlight 7, get my brush, 6 and 7.
Okay. And then precinct 18 to 6.
18 is going to 6, get my brush. Okay, 18.
177 to 6.
177 177 is going to 6, okay.
And 21 to 6.
21 to 6, okay. Any other changes?
Did you say 6 and 7?
6 and 7 to 7,
All right, I just want to make sure 7.
18, 177, and 21 to 6. So it meets a contiguous, but I don't know about the actual percentage.
Okay, so based on the calculation that Dave's Maps does, it's 7.59, which is within 10%. If we apply it's a little bit higher, but it looks like there's plenty of room, but let me double
That
check.
makes 3 trustees happy in my book. 4?
So then the most populous would be, who was that, 6? Trustee Avalos with 47,390, 47,390, divided by the least. It looks like Velarde with 43,930, 43,930. Yeah, that's about 8%, so you're well within the 10%.
Perfect. And then that keeps trustee Hannany with 41, correct?
Correct, yes, 41 would stay in District 1.
And this is one that was preferred by Hernandez as well? Or Valley as well? Sounds like good to me.
Can I propose one minor change?
No, Michael.
So I just want to see how this works.
Okay, let me go ahead. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to my
Save
maps.
it.
Yes, I'm gonna duplicate it. So now we saved that as option 1, August 2nd. I'm gonna go ahead and take this, let's rename it. Let's do this.
Everything fine.
This is now going to be August 2nd, option 2.
We're gonna have our heads.
Oh, you're making another one from that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, of course. So we're gonna edit it. Okie dokie. Okay,
Okay, what I would like to do is put 75 back into 3.
75.
let's make sure we get
Who had that one?
75 is going to 3.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'm gonna highlight 3 and hit 75. Okay, 75 is in 3.
And then move precinct 87 into District 2.
And 87 is over here.
Oh, wait.
It's not
No, that's,
No, it's not.
It's not contiguous.
And you are dividing up Fort Bliss that way.
What's the change, or what's the demographics on this?
With the 75 change?
13%, which would be higher according to our.
Okay, actually, then let's do this. Let's put 75 there,
Okay.
and then let's move precinct 74 into Velarde's district.
74. Okay, into District 2. So we'll highlight that. 74. There we go. Okay. So then on this side. 8.9. That's close. Let me double check that.
74 doesn't have schools, right?
And
Actually, no, it doesn't.
Mr. Cliff, I just noticed the ones that we're using are 100s, 200s. And then we have the map. The three things that we got from the county. It's not in days. Okay, that's why. Okay, thank you. All right.
Let's see. So we're looking at the highest, which is 47,390. 47,390 divided by the least, which looks like 43,334. 43,334.
75 is going to.
1.0, about 9%. So you're within the 10% with this option.
You are at 10%?
Within the 10%. It's at 9 and change.
It's very close.
Jackson's here.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay. So that would be another option?
Yeah, I would propose it as another option.
Okay.
We should probably wait for Mr. Thaxton to see if his changes. Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Apologies for being late.
No, don't worry. You all right with that? historical options.
If it's within the margin, I'm happy with that.
And that includes the changes that we made for 7, right? And 6.
But that includes
Survey.
So this is option 2, 6, 7.
We'll show you, this is the survey results, just to bring you up to speed.
Just want to make sure, this one includes the changes that I had, plus the ones that Michael just added, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So yours will be August 2nd, option 1, and then
This one also has it.
Correct. He
Correct.
just copied that August 1st.
Okay.
Option 1 over, and then made the additional changes.
So this is all option 2 plus mine plus his.
correct, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Additional
Yes, that's what you
options
took.
from after speed.
That switch.
So,
We gotta wait for Mr. Thaxton to catch up.
and we'll go over that now. And then Mr.
Hopefully
Apodaca
makes everybody
proposed
happy.
additional changes to that map. And we're gonna realize, so let me have Mr. Maldonado bring you back.
Take the top
Are you ready to go?
at 50% and this is 2.
Okay, we need to go. Purposes of the video, it's easier if you don't all talk
Oh, sorry,
over
sorry,
each
sorry.
other, okay? Thank you. So, Mr. Maldonado, will you help Mr. Thaxton, please? Show him the option that was proposed by Ms. Williams after speaking to one of the trustees.
Mr. Thaxton, this option proposed by Ms. Williams moved, and we're looking over here on the west side. Precinct 6 and 7 and a portion of 8 from District 7, from District 6 into District 7. And then in exchange, we moved precinct 18, 21, and 177
You're right, there you go.
from District 7 into District 6. And
That's new tonight.
yes, sir.
It's layered onto the staff recommended option 2, which was preferred by trustee Hernandez.
Correct. And option 2, if you recall, we'll start down here, moved precinct 75 from District 3 into District 2.
Right.
And we moved precinct 55 from 5 into 4.
Right.
And that was our first recommended option for today. And then if we look at option 2 for today, let's see. What did we do on this one?
That's not it.
Okay.
That's not it.
That's option 1.
Oh, I apologize. I thought it looked familiar.
This was,
Here.
on this one.
Option 2.
So he's starting with option 2,
Oh, here we go.
he's starting from here. Okay, and then this changes. It's this one, not that one. Okay.
So for the second option proposed today, Mr. Thaxton, we returned precinct 75 back to District 3, but in turn, we took District 74 and moved it from District 3 into District 2. And I believe that was the only change we made on this option, is that correct?
Right.
Added to from the first.
From the first one. And then also, just to point out, those two, precinct 75, precinct 74, because you mentioned about schools, neither one of those actually have any school additions, because Alta Vista no longer exists, and 75 has never had a school, with the exception of Radford.
That looks really pretty. That looks like it's.
If we want to look at the totals one more time, we're at 8.5 based on these calculations. Our calculation, taking the most populous divided by the least populous, puts us at around 9.3, so still within the 10%.
Can I just see something really quick, because I can't see it prepared?
Of course, by all means. So,
Actually, never mind. No, actually, can you go back to the stats? Yeah.
okay.
So let me ask you this, we've had two additional options proposed today. Do you have a rationale for making those proposals and the moves that you're making?
So on the west side, it makes it contiguous, and it keeps those communities together. We kind of talked about south side, north side, and that's what they were looking at for that. And then just hearing Trustee Hannany with her community and keeping precinct 41, I think that makes the most sense as well. And then going back to our notes with Trustee Hernandez in her area and keeping that initial option 2 with those changes, it keeps those like communities together as well. And same for Trustee Urabali, but you can chime in if you don't like it right now.
Again, for my district, it was very easy. We made the swap at the very first meeting, so I'm a happy
You
camper.
have all the population.
Yeah, I mean, it's only gonna come more and more.
You're forward to lose, whatever you do, you're losing precinct 55.
And then, Mr. Apodaca, you added some changes to
Right,
the
the
map that
change-
Ms. Williams proposed, so.
Right, the thought was, with conversation also knowing Trustee Acevedo very well, precinct 75 is a precinct that is near and dear to him, and so I know that that would be a precinct he would prefer to keep. Also, he's also made very good relationships with the neighborhood associations there in that area. And so, and also with precinct 74, there is commonality with precincts 79 and 76. You have a very common neighborhood, even though it is divided by a freeway in a way, but it's very similar in scope with the community members in that area.
Any other thoughts from the committee members?
And also to point out that Trustee Hannity will not lose the precinct that she also loves as well. So,
That takes care of that.
although I will put it in like Trustee 2 or something like that in another meeting. Jokes.
Any other comments from the committee on those? Yes, sir, Mr. Thaxton.
I don't particularly care for the I guess I don't know what one this is being called, the committee option, June 15th, the change, well, the one on the
Oh, the one that's up here now?
out here now, you know.
You don't have that in your packet. They just created
Yeah,
these two
that-
right now.
That to me, well, I see something like that in here, but anyway, 6 and 7 are needed so little change, numbers-wise, and we fixed the split precinct in almost every plan that we had talked about. But other than that, wholesale changes, moving, I am a fan of the smallest change possible being best. I mean, let's not disrupt things unless we have to. And that one that goes into changing things that in my mind don't need to be changed.
Does anyone else from the committee have thoughts on that?
Quick question on going to the change from the changes that we made in the west side. The attendance zone in that area, I know it's not Lincoln Middle School anymore, but it's
Haskins.
Haskins? Okay. Do the students both go to, when they go from there, do they both go to Franklin and Coronado, or is it just a Franklin Peter?
It's split.
It's about,
Split.
we looked at that today.
So in essence, like that middle school will be represented by 2 trustee members. When they get to high school, if they recognize one, they probably recognize the other. So in essence, we could see that maybe those trustees within that area would work, with that neighborhood, and they would have some commonality with them, I guess, because I'm assuming that this is why Trustee Khalil and Call, talk about this, I think, at some point, I'm assuming?
I'll try to trustee Cole.
To answer your question, Mr. Apodaca, Haskins, which is in precinct 6, I believe.
I think it should be in 7.
Maybe, yeah, you may be right there, right on the line. Roughly 77% of the students in that feeder pattern go to Franklin and 23% go to Coronado.
Right, because it goes back to the original reason why going back to, as I mentioned, like historical purposes of why we had that split in precinct 8 was because at that point, I think most of the kids who were going to Lincoln were represented by whoever that trustee at that point was. And that's why we originally created that strip, but still, I mean, the students in that district at least have, I guess, 2 representatives in essence.
I don't have that history, so I'm not sure.
No, I think I mentioned it in past meetings. I sat on this committee 10 years ago.
That was David Dodge.
All right.
Yeah, it was, David Dodge, yeah.
All right.
And
Any
now,
specific-
we've gone through the process of creating all these plans, and we put them out, the survey to the people. For us to consider a plan that was not, are we gonna go back and tell them, and do another survey to the people and say, we've changed, come up with something different, or, I mean, we're just going to say, well, the exercise of going and giving the survey to the people doesn't matter, we're gonna do what we want to.
So to answer your question, we talked about this a little bit earlier with regards to the process that was adopted by the board, and one of the things was that the committee would put out a survey of options. The committee did decide the 2 options, and those are what were posted. I think there was a little bit of confusion by Mr. Apodaca, and also from what I think I heard from Ms. Williams as well, about whether or not they thought that the correct options were there. Mr. Clay and I both went back and looked at the video, and indeed, we had to redo the survey and make sure that we had the right options were out there, and those were the ones that were put out to the public. However, in the spirit of what the board passed with regards to the resolution and the timeline and the criteria to be used, they did want a survey done, and earlier we talked about there is time to do another survey if there's other options that the committee wants to have the board consider.
I
And we
would
can
not be in
certainly
favor
do
of considering another option at this point unless it was gonna go back to the people again.
Right, so we could do, in the timeline of events that we have, there was gonna be a survey, which has already been done. You have time before the August meeting to do another survey, and then the idea was, at that meeting, a recommendation would be made by this committee to the board, and the board would take a look at it, and the board would make a decision, and then not make a decision at that meeting, but that whatever the option or options are, would be posted for the public before this, from after the August 16th meeting until the September 20th meeting. So that it's plenty of time out there to the public. And actual consideration won't be taken by the board until September 20th. So if there were another survey that would be conducted after this meeting until the board meeting on August 16th, are you okay with that? I'm trying to find out, okay.
I'm still in favor of option 2, I mean,
Well, it's a tie.
Yeah.
So you
And
could
thank you again for
toss
supporting
it up
option 2.
Wait, which option 2 are we talking about?
We don't know. So then, as a committee, do we want to move forward again with putting this back as a survey, including these 2 new options that we have created, so that there's enough time to do that again, and so that it goes to the board members?
what would be presented as a survey? We had narrowed it down to 2.
The committee
Right.
narrowed it down to 2.
And we didn't want to give too many options to the public to confuse them and vote on. So if we were to go back and offer them now, would we be just offering them the 2 new ones, or these 2? I mean, are we now talking about 4 options on the table in front of people?
No, and I think that is a good question, because, clearly on this survey, with these two maps, it was basically tied. And so, I would propose if we do a second survey, it's these two new proposed maps to get feedback, on these two maps, so that we get a round survey of these 4 maps that we would propose to the board. So that we've gone survey on these two. This is what the public told us. If we get another survey, for the next 2 maps we just created, get feedback on that one, and then that's what we give the board of,
I think I would have to disagree with you. I think if we present it, we present,
all 4.
either we eliminate one of the options that we created today, which I'm happy to eliminate the first one that we created and just do the one that we all added on, and do the initial 2 and this one. And so it's a total of 3. Because it may change their opinion, and then this survey is kind of thrown out. It may change their opinion on whether they wanted option 1, 2, or the one that we created today.
I agree with that.
I would make
To not consider at least one of these options
Right.
in what we send back to them, would think that these 2 have been rejected.
Exactly.
And we're only looking at these 2, and then if we were to not get a good response on those 2, and we come back to number 2, and they, let's be honest with our.
Absolutely.
From a survey perspective, I would recommend the following. One, the 2 options that were presented, if you discard them, then the perception may be we didn't value your opinion and we're just going in a different direction, so that's a concern. The second thing, since they are so close, they're just a few votes away, I would recommend putting both of them back on there.
Right.
And then as far as the new 2 options that are created today, I would defer to you all if you want both of those or one of those. But that would be my recommendation based on survey.
Sure, Josh is happy with those changes.
But let me also from the other other members, do you have opinions on what we should put as, 4, if we should just put these 3 maps, redo it again, put all 4? Just want to get feedback from the other members as well. Haven't spoken yet.
3 is okay with me.
Yeah, if I was to see it again, I would think that maybe the option that was better, we take that one and these 2 new ones and have 3.
So you would say
The option 2,
She would take the one that had the winning votes.
the most votes.
Oh,
Would we list the number of votes that they received on this? If we do the next survey, would we put on there that it had received that many votes, or no? We just put the option up?
I would probably recommend just putting the option up because it would be the only one showing the number of votes, which then kind of implies we're trying to fit it into that.
Okay.
So I would just say, if that's the route y'all decide to go, I would just show those 3 options.
What else could be something that we do? I just think the 2 maps that we created right now are very similar.
I say we just use the second one that we created where you made the additions for Josh's area, or trustee 2 and 3, along with the 6 and 7, which was laid on to staff option 2.
So option 2 from tonight.
so it's the August 2nd, option 2 map.
Yes, this one, the one that looks pretty.
One that is currently being displayed.
I like this. Yeah, I think we should present that one, and going back to what Mr. Thaxton said is transparency, and, maybe bringing back the initial 2 that we surveyed them on, so they can say, okay, well, they heard us, and put all 3 of them out.
Right.
So today's and then the last 2, but I don't know, I worry about the community if we eliminate, if we just put the one that won today and then today's, are they gonna be upset that they didn't have that other option since they were so close?
What do you think?
Again, my recommendation, because, even though we're saying it's a winner, statistically it's insignificant. It's really just a handful of votes. So there's not truly a winner between those 2 options. So I would show both of them
From the last one, right?
from the original
That's what I
survey.
think too.
I just don't care for that map right there. They're taking precincts 6 and 7 and moving them. I don't see a purpose for it.
Yeah, and also there might be some folks like on, on the west side that might say, you know what, I don't know why we're doing that. And you could go back to the first option we have, the second option, option 1, option 2 that were on the survey, and then this option, showing on the west side of the change. Because, the first option 1 that was on the survey, does have some minor changes, mostly in central. West side stays practically the same. And then, the second option, same thing, definitely some more changes in central, and then no real changes in the west side. But then this third option that we just created some more changes in the west side, and just did a little tweaking, in central. And so, and northeast stays the same. So then I would propose then to the members that we put forth another survey with the original option 1 that was on the survey, the original option 2 that was on the survey, and then new August 2nd, second option as option 3 for a survey.
And maybe when you preface it, you can say something like, so feedback from the community.
So you made a proposal, so let's find out how the committee feels before we get to that.
Okay, so there is a second with that. Do we want to go really Robert's order?
No, but let me just get there, because I know you're the chairperson, but I'm running the meeting. So let me get there. So you've got a motion and you got a second. Let's vote on that, on what the proposal is.
So,
You're proposing the original 2 that went out on the survey, and one additional one from tonight. That's what you proposed.
The last one,
which is
August 2nd, option 2.
before the public.
All right, so,
I second that.
Mr. Lopez, how do you feel about that? In favor?
In favor?
In favor? Mr. Thaxton?
In favor?
In favor.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want to ask one additional question on that. You had originally mentioned, Mr. Apodaca, that you thought that the survey that, or the map that was going to be put out was a different one than the one that was posted in this last survey, right? And I believe you were talking about, was it staff proposed option 2?
That's correct. And so, but I think since we've already have this out in the public, I don't think we can revert back to this map, since this one has already been out there. So I think that's where we just go with these 3 maps. So, and I think that was more my confusion of that meeting versus what there was. But this is the one that that has a survey and has responses from the public. So.
Okay, on the third map being, the new one being proposed tonight, what is our deviation, I'm sorry.
The map proposed today that will move forward is August 2nd meeting option 2. And based on Dave's maps, the difference is 8.9% based on the calculation that Dave's maps uses. If we apply our calculation, which is the most populous divided by the least populous, we're at about 9.3%. So we're within the 10% range.
But the other 2 maps that were previously put before the public, it was like 1.06, right?
So option 1 that went forward to the survey had a range of 6%. And then the second option that went through the survey also had a range of 6%.
Right. Yeah, I like those 2. Okay.
And so the survey that will go out will have the maps and then the calculation behind it, just like this does.
Correct. Similar to what we see here on the left-hand side.
Mr. Clay, how soon can we put out a survey? And mind you, we're dealing with the August 16th meeting.
So we do send all surveys that go out to the community to a third-party vendor for translation services. We'll craft it first thing in the morning, send it out to them. Probably get it back from them on Friday. And so, assuming we get it back from them on Friday, we can send it out that day.
By the way, you did a good job on the survey, the way it was presented. It worked out. It was nice. It was good.
If it went out, if it went out on Friday, it would be out for, well, 10 days if you were able to get the survey results back by the 14th, I guess. Probably would be better if we got it back the 12th so that we could post the survey results for the board meeting on the 16th. Within 72 hours notice. Gives us, we're gonna just have to see if it can be expedited. Today's Tuesday.
I mean, we can ask, it's within their contract that they have 48 hours to do it.
Okay. If we can,
Depends on how much work. I mean, I will tell you, some days we've gotten it back the same day, but they have up to 48 hours to return it to us.
The third map, want to offer any verbal explanation as to why a third map came into play, or why they are proposing what they want to?
well, let's talk about that. I think that Mr. Clay can craft part of that language. I think for the third option that's being proposed, I think that we would need to be able to, do you want to?
We could say it was based on feedback.
I would probably recommend, I mean, if you're gonna give an explanation on one, but you don't give an explanation on the other two,
that
here
makes
again,
sense.
right, it's gonna appear as if you're
Right.
trying to steer them in a direction. If we're gonna do it, I would do it for
I'll
all.
defer to you on that.
Because we never
You're the
really
expert.
provided, yeah, because we never provided explanation on option 1 and option 2 originally.
For that particular reason, yes.
By the way, do we, just for a point of information, we had 936 responses, is that right? From
Yes, I believe so.
the survey?
900 and something, yeah.
Six, yes, sir.
Do we know who they are? I mean,
It was
No, it's
anonymous.
anonymous.
it's all anonymous, okay.
So it was just,
Interesting.
it was me pushing it the
We
whole
were
time.
doing this.
It was me pushing it the whole time. Just me.
No, I mean, and I wasn't asking how people voted, but just, who were the 936 people that at least expressed?
Actually, that actually is a good question. Do you have like the data, like in what districts these people, like certain, it's all,
Completely anonymous.
okay.
All right, so let me ask you this. Once the survey goes out, we get results back. What is the presentation going to look like to the board on August 16th? Because that's where you come in, Mr. Chairman.
So we would have the results by this point?
Yes, we would hope to have the results back so that we could post them with the board item, with the board packet on August 12th. So you'll have the results.
We will not meet as a group like this before the presentation to the board to make a recommendation among the three?
Well, we could meet that Monday, once we have the survey results back. We can meet on Monday.
I think I would like
That would be Monday the 15th. How's everybody's calendar for that day?
I think mine's clear.
Here's something.
It would be in the evening, says he?
If that's the best time for the committee, yes.
15th is good for me. I think.
I mean, I'm kind of in that, I hope so. So, there's,
You're good with the 16th, though, right?
I should be good for 16th.
And then Michael makes his presentation to the actual board on the 16th.
Right, so obviously, Mr. Clay and Mr. Maldonado can help with the maps and those things. I can talk about the process, what we went through. We can even help you prepare a PowerPoint with the presentation after the meeting so that you can permit.
And the presentation on the 16th is to the,
It's to the board.
to the school board,
Yes, sir.
okay? And
It'll
where,
be
at what time and where is that? Here?
It'll be here.
What
And, that meeting will start at 5:30.
Okay, so we'd be talking about evening meetings on both the 15th and the 16th.
That's correct. And does the evening of the 15th at 5:30 work for the group here?
Yes.
I don't think we have anything else scheduled in this room. But we don't have anything else scheduled in this room for the 15th.
I don't think so, but if we do, I'm sure that we can adjust.
Okay.
So 5:30?
5:30. So we will get the survey up as soon as possible. Watch for an email from us to make sure that we have the correct maps. And get it out, and so that we can get it out to the public. So make sure you look at it. If you have any feedback, let us know right away. And then we'll go ahead and begin posting for a meeting on Monday, the 15th at 5:30. And then, the 16th will be the board meeting.
Good enough.
And I think my presentation, kind of like how you mentioned about how the process went, and I think the two things I would present would be whatever survey results that we have at that point.
Yes.
And then the 3 proposed maps that we're giving to the board. And then, because from there, they're supposed to discuss that and they vote on it on September 12th, is that?
September 20th.
Okay.
So after the August meeting, the board obviously will give you feedback. Or they may not. It's not really scheduled for any kind of action at that point. Although I have to double check. I may have posted it for possible action just in case the board did want to take action. But the idea, according to the resolution that was passed and the time frame that the board selected, September 20th was going to be the date that they actually take action to change the overall district map.
That's their next scheduled meeting after the,
That is correct. And then the idea was whatever came out on the August 16th meeting, that would be posted on the district's website for the public so that they could see it, so they have plenty of notice of what would be going forward.
And then at that point, the trustees can still change the map regardless. And
That
then
is
vote on it.
correct. That is correct. So the committee will make a recommendation, right? And so I don't know, I guess we could talk about it once we get the survey back, about what the recommendation would be from the committee, if it's 1 map or 2 maps or whatever the committee may decide. And then that'll be what's discussed at the board meeting on the 16th.
Good job.
Fair enough?
I think I hope we can come to some consensus on the 15th, but my recommendation would be that we give the school board 2 maps with a preference, with a primary map and a secondary map, or a majority or minority map. So
Very
anyway,
good. All right, well, we'll look for the survey results and be able to take that up at the next meeting.
good.
Anything else, gentlemen? Anything else? All right, it is now 6:41 and we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much for your
Thank you all.
participation.